Questions. So, from Andre, why does sciatica take so long to get rid of? And which is more serious, having sciatica with no back pain or back pain with no sciatica? So why does sciatica take so long to get rid of? It depends on what's causing the sciatica. So your first port of call is obviously sciatica just doesn't appear because it's a Tuesday. There's a reason behind it. So probably the most common way of getting sciatica is obviously going to be an actual impingement coming from a disc protrusion, which could be a disc bulge or a herniation. So obviously you need to test for that or have some imaging done to see if that's the case. If that's the case, we need to remove all causes of compressed flexion to let that bulge or that herniation heal. As it heals, you'll notice the sciatica will start to subside if that's the cause behind it. There are other reasons why you could have sciatica or sciatic-like symptoms, but that's the number one cause for most people. And then he asked a very interesting question actually, which is more serious, having no back pain and sciatica or having sciatica with back pain. So if we talk about the idea of centralization, so that's an idea I believe it comes from Mackenzie. So when we have sort of sciatic type symptoms, the further away from the actual problem the pain is, the further it is down, into your toes. There's no pain around the back itself. That's when we've got more severe impingement or more severe type of sciatica. The more that we can centralize that pain back to where the problem actually is, the better it's going to start to get. And that's when we start to play with things like, if you're familiar with Mackenzie, we look at things like extension type drills, which could be on the floor or it could be standing. We use those drills to test to see if it pulls that pain and it re-centralizes that pain back in towards the back. If it is, then we know that we're on the right course in terms of getting a positive outcome with that sciatic case and that injury. So again, the further away from the back the pain is, the further it is down your feet and legs, or the more severe an impingement it's going to be. The more that we can re-centralize it with some extension or decompression, obviously the better result we're going to be, and also it's a good sign we're on the right track to actually fixing that problem. Okay, question from Daniel. So working long hours, 12 plus with kids, and how do we program rehab into the day? So something I learned from Professor McGill is rather than having to do everything all in one go, so say we just want to work on the McGill Big 3, rather than doing 3 sets of everything all in one go, which might take you sort of 30 minutes or so, maybe you want to do maybe 1 to 2 sets a few times during a day. So it takes you less longer in one block of time, but you can get the same, if not more, work done. It's just that you've kind of spread it out throughout the day. So you might do a little bit in the morning, a little bit during the middle of the day, maybe a little bit in the evening. So you only have to grab sort of 10, 15 minutes here or there. And that might be a better way of getting things done for you. And also shoulder issues, any modifications advisable? It depends what's going on. That's quite an open-ended question there. It just depends. So there are some people that I have to get fit enough to be able to do the McGill Big 3 because they've got upper body and shoulder issues. So maybe things like Dr. Locke's Big 3, or maybe doing some hanging drills, or maybe some thoracic drills to kind of open up their thoracic spine. I might have to do some of that work, particularly before I do things like the side bridges, for example, can cause little problems with people with shoulder and elbow issues. And usually you find we have to do a bit of upper body work and then kind of reintroduce the side bridges and kind of continue on with the lumbar spine rehab from there. So again, it depends what's going on. So, all exercises are tools, and sometimes we can't use the best tools straight away. We have to make sure we've got kind of prerequisites in place so that we can use our best tools or get people fit enough to use the best tools possible. A question from Kylie. Hey there, long-time bad back sufferer here. Was wondering how you do the initial assessments before starting a Zoom program with you. Would you need my CT, MRI scans and reports? So basically the way I do online is pretty much the same as what I do in person. So MRI scans can help, but again, they just add some more evidence to the overall picture. The most important thing is I find particularly, is using McGill's provocation testing system so that we can test to see what your actual mechanics are for your pain triggers and your injury. So is that, is it flexion? Is it lateral flexion? Is it, compression on the spine? Is it extension? And then what I do is add some tests and now on sort of basic muscle control, like, can you do a glute bridge? What happens if you try to fire a brace? How do you get down to and off the floor? How do you walk? Sort of basic things like that, and that give an idea of A, what's going on, but B, also where we need to start for you. So there's very common patterns with things that are going on. We just, the tricky bit is knowing for each person where they need to start and how much kind of corrective work they can tolerate as well. So obviously, there's a lot of very common sort of back injuries with things like disc bulges, as we know is from compressed flexion. But each person is going to have, a different awareness of their body in space and time, different skill level with different exercises, a different workload tolerance. So if you give people too much too soon, that might cause problems, even though it is the right stuff. So you need to back things off a little bit. Again, even for big Ill, big three, sometimes I have to get people fit enough to do those if they've got shoulder, upper back issues, particularly things like side bridges. So there's a lot of things that go into it, but initially what I do online versus in person is basically the same thing, is I'll run you through provocation tests, and that's a zero down on, into what makes your back worse. And then from there we can start to form a plan about what we're going to do to help make your back feel better, but also lets you know what you need to avoid in day-to-day posture and movement habits to let the back settle. If you've got bulge or herniation, how you're going to let it actually heal and recover. So again, a lot of it comes down to provocation testing is one of my best sort of toolkits to use in the early stages. Just let me know what's going on. Basically what makes you feel worse and what makes you feel better, but also makes you aware of it. So the things you need to avoid to let things start to heal.